Hello and welcome to the second Bite Wize. I'm still here with Craig Underwood and Paul Smith. Guys, from the point of view of tenants, if you were giving advice to tenants, what are the things you'd be saying to them about what they should do over the next sort of 6 months when it comes to their property that they occupy? Craig, if I can start with you, what's your point of view?
Well, look, we get involved with quite a few things with tenants, really. I suppose it's understanding what you need the space for and what you've got or what you intend to use it for. If that makes sense. So with the change that's being witnessed by everybody at the minute, it's all about, I guess, managing risk from a point of view of space allocations and the fundamental issue around that and the people within it. So the things that we often get drawn into is, have we got enough air conditioning? Is there enough power? Is there, is the fire system as it should be? That kind of thing. But I suppose if you're looking at the base building piece, which is the engineering of the property and how it's spaced out and stuff like that, it feeds into other things around the building itself. Now, you might be on level 12 at the minute and you've got 50 people coming into your offices on a regular basis, but now with the way people are, you're only going to get 10 or 15 or even 20 people in, and it might be rostered or rotated or, however it might be, but then you only allow 3 people in the lift. So there's this whole thing around working in with the landlord and how the building operates to make sure that you're doing the business that you need in order to keep a business running. So the building, which you probably took really quite for granted before, is now a bit more of a focus for you, I would have suggested, as a tenant. So it's trying to figure out how do you get to understand what them things are that the landlords are doing differently, or how does that affect what your what your people need to understand, one thing, and then within the area that you've got within the property, depending on how you've set your space up in the past, how is that going to work going forward? So in the next period of time, I think there's a sort of a pseudo feasibility probably needed in some respects around what is it we're trying to get to, what have we got now, what are the things that inherently impact on what we've got and what we need to get to, and let's have a think about that, if that makes sense. So it's almost we actually term it a bit of
is it real as well?
Is it real?
Is it real? Yeah, I mean, we've been forced into this situation, and it's all well and good for 8 weeks, but long term, is it real? Is what your business? I think you've got to have some thought towards. So I mean, so you've got to, and you're locked into a space. As a tenant, are you maybe looking at, different spacing types and using the space that you've got in a slightly different way to the benefit of your employees, accepting, of course, that, infection risk is a feature, it always was a feature of our lives, but it's now more poignant because we've got something that is highly infectious and actually kills people quite really. And it's not curable at the moment. So, could you keep your levels of attendance up because you've got higher spacings? Components such as that. How does your building provide you with the right sort of outside air cycles, and could you increase those? For the benefit of your employees that are actually coming into the office, and to maintain their levels of health across the board, because I think when I just going back to is a bit of a novelty in this still. It's still novel to be working in this environment. I've worked from home for a number of years, running my own business, and I have to be honest, I got lonely. Not so that I was breaking down. I still had my family around me and components such as that, but I really missed discussing not even just technical issues, just having opinions and exchanges with people I did miss that. I think we've got to make sure that we factor that in, that loneliness in a working environment is going to be a feature, especially if you live in a one-bedroom apartment. Can you imagine how that might be at the moment? In isolation, it's so I think there's a lot of different demographics that as a tenant and a business owner you'd have to take on board. I don't think it's as straightforward as we're seeing at the moment over 8 weeks of complete isolation. I think we need to think about that a little longer, deliberate over that a little longer.
Yeah, one of the interesting points has been a number of organisations have been looking at how they manage their businesses, and how they have looked at having meetings over Zoom on a regular basis, and arranging different sort of contact points with their staff and employees so that they can maintain that sort of ongoing contact. But I think it does change the way that businesses are managed, as well as how just the space that they're occupying. And I think it is also incumbent upon the manager to ensure that they are reaching out to their staff, that they're engaging them and making sure that the staff are okay. It's actually been interesting. Some of the discussions have been about methods of management, and it's actually the firms that are thriving at the moment are those that manage by outputs rather than managing by demand, and being, those managers that would stand over their staff and micromanage are struggling, whereas those that empower their staff and actually allow them to get on and do the job seem to be doing better. So there are issues and benefits, I think, for everybody in this change that has happened, and certainly from the point of view.
I think the other thing as well, Julian, is businesses need to, and I think this is something that not necessarily in what we do, but generally overall is that I think you're going to find more alliances in businesses.
Yes.
So, unfortunately, some will go by the wayside, and that means that the space comes available. But I know of businesses in other sectors that we work in, whereas we're at the minute fortunately okay. There's others that have just got completely quiet, So they're going, well, how do we use the space in another way? I don't know what that might be. It might be combined working, or it could be an architect with a designer, with just making the space available so that you've got Zoom and all the relevant things that you need, a coffee machine or whatever it might be. So it's not turning up to sit at a desk, it's more turning up to collaborate and work together at distance, I suppose.
Yes.
Using the space, but then it comes back to how does that space, so how does that building support that for us? Can we do that? How do we charge people for it? What is it? What do we need to think about in order to get there? So yeah, it's big, isn't it? It's a fundamental change of how to manage, and as well as what you're sitting on in your desk. I get what you're saying as well, Paul, around this loneliness thing. I think the other thing that I've noticed by being at home is you don't get up and move about as much necessarily. I don't go and...
Yeah, you're not careful. Yeah,
you're right. You end up going, oh, bloody hell, it's 6 o'clock. When did that happen?
Yeah.
Okay, right, well, we'll sort the kids out, and next day it's on. So it's funny how it all works, that people sometimes think, well, I think and historically people thought, well, we're working at home, which means they're not really doing anything. I think what you'll find is that people who are committed and do the job actually work harder, and then actually I think it's having a bigger impact on the human being as well. So, do you have to change your space in the office environment to do something else? I don't know. Gymnasium, I don't know.
Right, everyone could have a Peloton and have their meetings while cycling on their interactive bicycle. Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much for that. And join us for the next Bytewise. Thank you.